Hey, Sweden, are you okay? Because I'm not going to lie to you, you've been acting a little strange lately. And I'm talking about Sweden's immigration policy and your asylum policy and the migrant crisis. Sweden has decided to build its future on the concept of multiculturalism. I would argue that you have decided to roll the dice and rather recklessly gamble your future on the concept of multiculturalism. So maybe it's worth taking a step back and thinking this through just a little bit more than the cliches and we're all one and everybody has the same hopes and the same dreams that I keep hearing, looking for reassurance that this is a good idea and finding myself confronted with superficial buzzwords. I've spent over 4 years working in conflict and post-conflict zones in the Middle East, in Asia, and in Europe. When I was working in Iraq for 2 years as a civilian reform advisor over there, I must have heard literally hundreds of times Europeans of all different stripes tell me, you know, let's be honest here, Iraq is destined to be a mess. And it actually kind of needs a brutal dictator to hold it together. I would say, okay, well, why do you say that? And the answer was almost invariably some variation of this. You've probably heard it yourself. Iraq is basically an artificial country that just artificially lumped together people that don't necessarily belong together. You have the Kurds in the north, you have the Sunni Arabs in the middle, you have the Shias in the south. And they would say, well, you can't just lump together different people like that. I mean, that's crazy. How could you possibly expect that that would work? How could you possibly expect that Iraq would be anything else than dysfunctional and volatile? Or the least bad scenario is that a brutal dictator comes in and forcefully keeps a lid on it. Okay, I'm agnostic on the specific issue of Iraq, but this video isn't about Iraq. But the question is, what really blows my mind is that many, and I do mean the identical people who told me this story, many of those very same Europeans will 5 minutes later say that creating a multicultural society out of Sweden or Europe, in respect of Europe and Sweden's immigration policies, that creating a multicultural society at breathtaking speed with absolutely no regard for the ethnic and cultural and religious divisions and differences. Well, what could possibly go wrong there? How could that possibly be a problem? And moreover, a lot of these people will say, well, look, man, only a heartless, primitive, bigoted idiot would even suggest that this would not work out beautifully. How could it not work out beautifully? Well, I would suggest that it's very possible that it will not work out beautifully. How bad could it get? I don't know. But another thing that does kind of amaze me is that in the case of Iraq, everybody used the terms, well, ethnic division, sectarian strife. You've all heard it. We heard it ad nauseum. You know, Europeans, everybody, all the Westerners are there. Were like, well, what are you going to do, man? The sectarian divisions. I mean, ethnic divisions. In the case of Sweden, you have some of our famous segregated communities. I have certainly visited the ones that are in Belgium, in Brussels, and other places, and I have many years ago gone to the banlieue in Paris and seen some of the segregation that occurs there. Does it ever cross your mind that what we call sectarian differences and sectarian divisions, or ethnic or religious divisions in the case of Iraq, we simply rebrand as multiculturalism in Europe? The first word has a very negative spin. The second word has a positive spin. But it's pretty much just spin. The bottom line is that I think that we all need to take a step back and think this through a little more before we jump in finally into this arranged marriage with absolutely no divorce clause.